was, or an entire world like Maldek, like Mars, is no longer has an atmosphere, but it used to, and the actions in the far past, according to the Confederation channeling, caused the planet to become uninhabited, uninhabitable by third density human forms. So our planet, our third density Earth, has had a lot of 16 different planetary populations come here trying to finish their third density, and a lot of them have experienced adhering karma because of what happened to their Earth, their planet. And so they want to come back as wanderers, not so much to lighten the consciousness of the planet, but to do restitution to Earth, to Mother Earth, that they really, really, really want to heal the damage that we've done. And I think we have a lot of that energy here, and it's very exciting to see it happen. And I love this. I think there have been 3 generations of wanderers. I'm the first generation. I'm one of the old guys, and came in a long time ago and have been here on Earth for a long time. And I think then there was a second generation of wanderers that basically coincides with the Generation X, and they were really pretty much all about the opportunity in the last days to do a lot of real work on themselves. So there was sort of a self-involved generation, not so much to lighten the consciousness of planet Earth as to balance themselves, to balance the energies of love, wisdom, and power within their own soul streams. And then you get this third generation, the indigo children, that are really busting systems and trying to make a huge difference, either locally, or there are some that have taken it worldwide, and they're trying to get wells for Africa or boreholes for parts of Africa and all kinds of exciting things like that, really trying to make big differences in the infrastructure, and all for the better of the overall tribe of humankind.
And there does
it's a wonderful time to be alive.
Yeah. I know, it's funny watching this whole scenario play out, and the one people are most familiar with is the, Atlantis, Lemuria, or Mu scenario, where they had the group that was more self-serving and into the intellect and technology and, kind of power over others, and the other group, which saw everybody as family, they saw the, creator in all creation, and they wanted to help those less fortunate to rise to their highest potential. And it seems like that same element right now, the one we're most familiar with, is acting out right now with the groups that are just, they're completely self-serving. Their unbridled greed and their lust for power and wealth is insatiable. And then you have, the other groups that are in the opposite direction, and a big mix in between of people, on both sides of the fence. So it's interesting watching this play out, and, I have high hopes this time that we won't end up, taking down the continents again and totally abusing technology to the point where everybody has to start over, as primitive. But
I have high hopes of that, too. I think that the energy of it figures that you'd have a market dynamic at the end of third density between positive and negatively polarized people, because that's the whole point of third density, is to make that choice and then to polarize along that choice. If you choose to be of service to self, then you just want to use everybody in your world as pawns and manipulate everybody and control everybody, and there's that energy. And you see that energy in corporations, you see it in the armed forces, you see it anywhere where there are large masses of people that are considered less important, and then a few that are considered more important. And that elite, is running things. That's pure service to self. And then you see the advanced energies of service to others, where there's so many that are just, their hearts are open and they want to serve as Mother Teresa served. There's so many good examples of that. And what really makes the news, of course, is service to self. If it bleeds, it leads. And so what flies above the radar is generally service to self. But what people miss, if they're just watching the news, is the incredible life force of the human tribe that is going on under the radar, where, I mean, just think about all the people that you know and all the people that are just, but they would do anything for you. They're loving, good people. They may not have the greatest intellect in the world. They may not have a great education. They may not have a lot of things. They may not have been born into circumstances that were handy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They may have been disadvantaged from the get-go. But these are people who know in their hearts what's right to do, and they're going to do it. And that energy of doing the right thing and doing it out of love and really just embracing everybody and including everybody and just letting your love flow like sunshine over everybody, you know. That energy more and more is the basic experience that we have. And all we have to do is start looking for it, and we'll see it everywhere. So
it is there.
Yeah, I'm very, very much stoked on the feeling that, yes, this is indeed interesting times, and it may well hold a lot of chaos, you know, in the Mayan calendar, and there are different varieties of exactly how all that works, you know, different dates. And I don't want to get into the abstruse scholarship behind that, but they all say one thing, and that is that there's a period of basic chaos of maybe 30 years, 25 to 40. Hard to say. It just depends on who you read. But there's a period between the setting of the fifth sun in that system of the Mayans and the rising of the sixth sun, where there's very uneven, chaotic, you know, it's not the end of everything, but it's a time of chaos. And I think we're right in the middle of that now. We'll be in the middle of it for a while. So what I try to tell people that are, you know, glued to the Internet news and all the wonders that you can get when you're surfing the Internet, and so many people are finding so much truth, you know, it's almost too much information. And I tell them it's fine to absorb yourself in all that, just soak it up. But just remember, we did not come here to judge the place. We came here to love it. We came here to be part of the love in people's lives. And you can't do that if you're all worried about this or that or the other event that's taken place in the world. No matter how tragic it is, you need to take this opportunity to remember why we came here, why we took incarnation on planet Earth at this time. You know, it's not just to learn things. It's not just to be, although being is certainly important, but it's also to hold a very specific place that I think a lot of us sacrificed a good deal in order to do. We came into conditions that were not what we were used to. Planet Earth is a little rough around the edges, and it's tough to be here sometimes. But, you know, we came here because we heard the cries of help from the people that lived here and said, we need help at the end of this age. Please help us. And so here we are, and having sacrificed to get here, I am certainly not going to waste a single day of my incarnation in going, this is hard. Well, so what? You know, that's okay. You pay dues to get to this party, but then you're at the party and you can serve. And it's just so wonderful to know that, you know, we're here at the really interesting time for this planet, and we really do have the capacity to serve. We really do have the capacity to be voices of love. And it's just a matter of staying on task and remembering the mission, you know, which is just to let the love flow.
It definitely feels, to me, it's like I feel that there, you know, I saw, you know, one of the visions they showed me when I first started, they showed me the Earth, and they showed me the future, and the Earth was just a big mud ball, and nothing was left. It was the whole surface was scoured, and it was very clean. You know, it was getting ready to start fresh and renew itself, and it was quite an interesting situation. And then I saw these really long tubular-like, they almost looked like a train, but they're anti-gravity devices that were going around the Earth, and I guess they were picking up whoever made it or whatever through this process. And what I was told was, like, if you don't get busy, this is what's going to happen, you know.
That's the message.
Exactly, and they said, this is where you're headed. This what's on the books right now. Get busy, and it was, and the the dream was a message, a very clear message, and so I did. I mean, after that, I got very busy and started letting people know, like, hey, we got to get our act together here. We got to clean up our consciousness and the environment, or this is where it's going to go, and so it was kind of interesting that it really pushed me into that. And what's strange is last night I had a strange thing too, where I heard this knock, like a knock on the door, but I'm out in this one little building. There's nobody around it. There's nothing. I hear this knock, and I go, that's interesting. I knew it was like a spirit knock, like kind of a spirit knock, and I fell asleep again, and I had this dream, and I was back in the desert town I lived in, and I was watching the water come up to that area, and it's in California, it's Apple Valley, California, and I think it's about 3,000 feet up there. And this dream, I saw the water coming in, moving in these waves, and it was really interesting. It stopped right in front of me, but the water actually seemed conscious. There was all old cars and vehicles and things, and it was actually like a wave would come out and grab that car, and it would miss a newer one, or it was just cleaning up. It was like conscious, and it was quite an interesting dream. I haven't had a chance to really sit with it, but I looked at a lot of the different dynamics in that dream, and one was that the water was conscious. It actually was moving around certain things and then taking out the old stuff, that recycling it, and that. It was just quite interesting the way the whole dream was unfolding. So I'm wondering, because I know one of the Mayan elders that was at the Earth Transformation Conference, he was saying that. He was telling the people of Hawaii, he said that we are Mayans, and we've been here. We've never changed. We still live in this crater. We've been here forever. And he said that we are nature, and he said nature is going to start moving and cleaning and, cleansing and doing her thing. So
I think it already is.
Yeah, it definitely is. I know Australia is really having some.
I know in the 70s, early 70s, when I first got into this field, and yes, I'm 67, folks, do the math. Mm-hmm. But I was aware of a lot of We Are the Earthquake Generation type books,
mm-hmm.
and they were focusing on a lot of changes that had taken place in climate, as well as some of them, like We Are the Earthquake Generation, focused also on Edgar Cayce's readings, which had suggested that there was going to be a planetary pole shift in 1998. And, of course, in 1960, that it was all ahead of us. Now I'm looking back on it, but then it seemed entirely plausible that Cayce could be right, because every year there were more earthquake events, there were more extreme weather events, and so forth and so on. And in actuality, once I was in the middle of a hurricane, and I went down I was not supposed to be on this island, but I was. I didn't want to leave. And so I went down to the beach, and I communicated with the ocean, and the ocean was extremely sad. The ocean is definitely alive. I mean, everything is alive, but a big body of water like that has a very strong persona and is very aware. And it was a very sad ocean, because it did not want to do the damage that it was going to do. And it knew that it must happen, that there were energies within the earth which had been stamped down into the earth by the heat of the aggression of people warring and fighting and using violence as a policy tool, as opposed to discussion and tact and so forth. And there had been all of this heat that had been tamped down into the earth and just stuffed down into it for millennia, and it needed to be let out. And so all of these events were happening, and there was a lot of consciousness involved in trying not to have everything happen at once, so that you'd have locally disastrous events, but you wouldn't have a planetary, a global disaster. And so far, that's happened. That's been very successful. And actually, I've seen some figures from scientists that say that the planetary magnetic north has almost finished moving to where it needs to move to be in alignment with fourth density light. And there's just a little bit left to go, so we have a little bit more of this chaos to put up with and to try to help each other live through. And so, I think the thing that we can all do at a time like this, since we know what's happening and why, is to be, super calm and super hopeful that all is well. And you can't prove that all is well when it looks pretty disastrous out there.
Yeah,
but if you act as if all is well, I think that, your world becomes sweeter and sweeter, and all truly is well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what we need to do is just reassure people and don't add to the panic.
Yeah, I've seen some science that out there. It's really interesting. One, I think it was Dmitry, he's a Russian scientist, was talking about us moving into a new, highly energized place in space right now that's going to really move things. And then we're also moving into alignment with galactic plane, or the core of the galaxy here, with central suns and things like that, really shifting, the magnetic field. And I've seen some very interesting things, too, about before a major natural disaster, when they go and measure the fields in that area, the fields are very down. They're like next to nil. And after the disaster, the fields are back up. The energy fields are back up. So a major, lightning storm or an earthquake or whatever, just a huge release of energy in that area seems somehow to regenerate the fields. And what kills the fields of an area is kind of social consciousness, where there's a lot of people being, subdued, enslaved, or whatever. They're not happy. There's no joy there. They've gotten totally away from nature, and that seems to lower the fields. And I also feel that, or I might even say the frequencies of those areas. And sometimes I think people gravitate to those areas. If they are of a denser frequency, they'll gravitate to those areas, and other people will move out of those areas because they're guided, hopefully by inner guidance, or just the feeling of being there. It just doesn't feel right to be there anymore. And I always tell people it's so important right now to get in touch, with your own inner guidance and make your own personal creator connection within, and master that loving detachment that allows you to flow with these times, and you'll be fine. But I've been watching this on all these different levels, and it seems to be a lot about frequency and energy, and people will gravitate to the places they need to go for whatever lessons they need to experience.
That's right. Yeah, I think that the idea of frequency is very, very helpful for all of us, because we think so much in terms of mass and things that have weight in the outer world. But actually, who we are, at least when the Confederation entities talk to me, they tell us they don't need our names because they're looking at the readout of the seventh chakra. They see a very clear signature of who we are, and it's in our frequencies. Mm-hmm. And there is a frequency to love, as you said, and this love, this frequency is the logos, the active principle of the Creator, whose very nature is unconditional love. So we really are living in a universe of love. When we choose to investigate that side of ourselves, we open up to a tremendous inner world, which actually is more real than the world of manifestation. And, the scientists tell us that the world of manifestation is largely space. They give us a picture of the atom that is these teeny tiny little particles of energy separated by vast distances. Like if you had the nucleus on the 50-yard line of a football field, the nearest electron is up in the cheap seats somewhere. That's a lot of space, which is why it's easy, if you remember that, to remember, number one, it really is a world of illusion, and number two, there's plenty of room for all the densities to nest together. Third density Earth doesn't become fourth density Earth. Fourth density Earth is right here. We can't see it, but it's right here. We can't see it with our physical eyes because the nature of fourth density is electrical. It's not chemical. And but there's plenty of room for it.
Oh, yeah.
And so we don't have to hang on to one Earth and say, well, logically, for fourth density to occur, third density has to go away. No, that's not true. Third density will wind down as people who come in here with DNA that can use fourth density light as well as third density light until they're satisfied that the Earth has been healed. That is separate from fourth density, which is already alive and well. As one recent reading said, the baby is alive. It's finished off Earth, but the baby is alive. Fourth density Earth is alive and well. So I look forward to the time after my service on Earth is done, where I get to walk the steps of light and move into fourth density and really experience for the first time the awareness that has been missing from my incarnation. It's missing from all of our third density incarnations, is, the real truth of how things are. Imagine knowing all of our past incarnations, but not in a way that causes us to feed our ego, but in a way which allows us to see where we've been, what we've learned, what we witnessed, and, so that we see what everybody else is experiencing and suffering and witnessing, and we have that fellow feeling that we never could quite have here because it seems so obvious to us in the illusion that we're separate. And, every once in a while we get that we love everybody and everybody loves us and that we are they and they are we. John Lennon wrote it, I am you as he is you and we are you and we are all together. I never could quote that right. But at any rate, the idea of it is that we are all one. Imagine the relief it will be to be in fourth density and to be completely aware of everybody's situation, not knowing what they're thinking in some way that would trap them or shame them, but knowing what they're thinking and knowing what we're thinking and realizing that all of that is okay, that all of that is perfect. Each of us, is where we need to be to learn what we need to learn for now. I think it will be a wonderful experience to have that veil of forgetting lifted so that we can feel our unity and see it and not just take it on faith, which we have to do now.
Yeah, I know the Mind calendar says that this March, I guess, according to Coleman, is the Unity Consciousness wave comes through, the 9th wave, and they said it's a very powerful force coming through, a very unifying force, which probably could even be described as the law of one, where everything is one and we're all together. It's going to be interesting watching this phase and how people react to it and what they do with it, and I know we need to initiate that. But, lately I've been feeling these huge waves of energy going through, like one after another, and we've been doing these world healing meditations as guided by, the ultra-dimensionals, and this actually we're doing one here pretty soon. We had, we were talking to Baba G, and he came in and he says, now's the time to do this one, and so it's kind of, they tell us when to do these, and they are right in the middle of these influxes of energy that come through. And usually there's 2 or 3 days at the beginning, and then there's the peak of it, and then 2 or 3 days at the end of it. But it's interesting how these waves are coming through, and I don't know if it's us just moving into a new place in the universe that's creating these waves. My gut feeling is that these waves are are instigated or set into motion using natural forces as well, or timing by these higher dimensional beings that are assisting us in our awakening and healing process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're probably right there. But I think that the nature of the changing times is such that we are definitely going to be feeling the new vibrations with or without help. But I think that the help is very, very excellent in that the help is intending to give us the tools that we need to magnetize the positive energies to ourselves and to create of ourselves kind of lighthouses so that people that are in the dark there and are fearful can look up and see not just one light. It's not just L&L Research or James Gilliland or anybody in particular. There are so many of us now that have gotten the message and are very much oriented towards sharing it with anybody that would find it useful to hear. And they'll look up, and they'll be in this situation of darkness, and they'll see it across, surfing the internet, or maybe a book that one of us has written, or a song one of us has written, or something that catches them, and they can use that. And they are so grateful to see that light. And the wonderful thing about light is that the darkness can never put it out. If you light a candle, you can see that candle for a full half mile unless there's some problem with the atmosphere where there's fog or something. I mean, a little light goes a long way. So even though we as human beings are sometimes, strong and sometimes weak, the energy that flows through us is always infinite and always infinitely powerful. So if we can set ourselves to being sure that we keep our energy bodies open, keep our hearts open, and give a place for that light to radiate from, then we, with our open hearts, are a little lighthouse. And if a bunch of us get together, then it's a really big lighthouse. So that's what you're doing with the World Healing Meditations, is getting a lot of little lighthouses to put their energy into one thing, set one intention in common, and oh my.
Yeah, it's going viral. It's amazing. These, I always have a little bit of I don't know what it's like it's a little inhibitor in me sometimes, and even to go public with some of the things that we've been doing that are very intense. I didn't think some of the people would be ready for them, and I keep getting pushed, to just do it, and initiating more and more people into the higher consciousness, and at the conference, at the Earth Transformation Conference, they had a limit of 40 people to do the workshop, and I think around 100 people showed up, and I was just going, oh God, I was talking to Michael about it, and I said, well, let them in. I said, obviously they're here for the experience, and I think there's enough really tapped-in people in the group here that everything's going to turn out great, and it was just phenomenal.
I'll bet.
What happened. So it seems like I'm one of those reluctant people, that I'm sure you feel that too, where you're going, we just keep pushed a little more and more from within that to take on more, and I've always struggled with myself. There's a part of me that can do hermit very well and just sit up on a mountain and stay in my own bliss, and I'm really fine with that. And then I get shoved off the mountain every now and then, where they say, get out and do your work. I'm sure you can relate to that.
I certainly do.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the time to let it all hang out. This is ground zero. So I hold nothing back.
It does feel like that.
Quite frightening. It's like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel so much energy running through you, it's almost scary, and it's quite interesting. But I know as long as you stay in that service to others program, and you become a hollow bone or a hollow tube, and just let the energy work through you, everything's fine. And but as soon as you start to control it or get into self-service, then you create all kinds of complications around the situation.
Yeah, and that's always the temptation we live in a culture that's very service to self in its orientation. You know, what's in it for me and so forth, and you just have to keep tabs on yourself and make sure that you're not going there in any way, shape, or form. Not trying to create a little empire on this earth, but just trying to provide resources for those who are seeking.
Exactly.
And as long as you remember that, then you're fine. If you start thinking in terms of the way the church is thought to its detriment for all these centuries of, you know, I must pay the bills on this cathedral, we must build a bigger cathedral, we must have a fancier cathedral, you know, and you begin to think of the church not as a living thing made up of people's hearts, but as a piece of architecture, you know, and then another piece of architecture, and all these pieces of architecture that are called churches, that is somehow become the church, and you have to donate to make sure that these churches, you know, get their roofs fixed and stuff. But it's just really important for the people that are doing this work in spirituality to remember that it doesn't matter about anything except that we just are here to serve. We're not here to create little empires.
And you will be
little
tested.
Cults of personality, for that matter. You know.
Yeah, you'll be tested all along the way. That's what I've seen.
Right.
It's continuous testing. There's an old, I was talking to one, I think it was Graham Hancock. I was talking to him. I love what he had to say, but he said, you know, every shaman hits that point where they're going to go into service to self or service to others. And very few of them take, you know, the high road, you might say. A lot of them fall back into, you know, material acquisition, power, and whatever else, you know, the lower frequencies. And I've seen that so many times with teachers and healers and things like that, is that, you know, you have to have a constant vigil on that and watch that side, because it's always there and it's always saying, you know, go here, go there, and you can have everything, and the same temptation that, you know, that Jesus went through and any other master, basically. But I see it's time, you know, I run into that a lot in the field. It's time for us to really go within with brutal honesty and ask ourselves, why are we doing this? You know, what is the motive for doing this? Are we still seeking, you know, love, acceptance, approval outside of ourselves? Are we seeking, you know, money, you know, survival? What is the drive behind our work? And I know there's so many people out there, a lot of times they forget to do that inner assessment, you might say.
Yes, there are many ways to get sidetracked, but the wonderful thing is that you can always realize that you've gone into a blind alley and back out.
Exactly.
Put it again, you know, to give it another whack.
Now you know what you don't want, and you can move on to do what you want. You know, so.
That's right.
Exactly. You know, unfortunately, we're out of time. What's the best way that people can, you know, get a hold of you and your books and your counselings or anything else you have to offer?
Well, to see what kind of channeling I do, you can go to the library site, www.llresearch.org. And then we have a community site. It's bringforth.org, BRING4, the Roman numeral 4, TH.org. And there's a store there. It's a safe, secure store. We've worked for quite a while to get to where we could say, yeah, it's safe to put your credit card on our store. But we're all banked up now. And you can also read my daily blog and other people's blogs. You can there are lots of forums. There's live chat. You can arrange to talk with people that you meet on. And it's really a very global site. There are lots of people from Europe, from Australia, from Africa, from South America, Canada. It's not just an American site at all. It's definitely all over the world. So it's fascinating to see people reaching out from all different languages and all different climates and all different parts of the world, just trying to find somebody to have a decent conversation with. And that's something that we try to offer on Bring Forth. And, of course, it's a pun, you know, bring forth density, bring forth fourth density, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, those two sites will get us.
Great. Hey, well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I know this probably should have been a 2-hour show, just like I said. We'll have to get you back on again soon.
Be delighted.
All right. Well, have a great day.
You too.
I guess we've run out of time, folks. This is James Gillen with World Puja. Have a great evening and do that inner assessment and watch the skies because there's a lot going on out there. Anyway, have a great day.